This is the EVP Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the EVP Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ghosty.
I'm Beaker.
And I'm DVO.
And we are continuing our Conjuring movie showcase episodes.
Yes.
With the final movie that just came out.
Hope you watched it already.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, we've only been warning you for like a month and a half that we're going to spoil this movie.
So here we go to spoil it for you, y'all. This one, they call it the Brookfield Demon Murder Case.
Yes, the real one. But in the movie, it's called The Devil Made Me Do It.
That's the name of the movie. And
they did call that case too. When the lawyer released his defense plans, the media ran with it, and they were calling it The Devil Made Me Do It case.
The Devil Made Me Do It.
And this is all based around Arnie Johnson, who stabbed a priest. Was it a priest? No, not a priest.
It was his landlord.
His landlord, yes. Stabbed his landlord and while he was possessed.
Yeah. So let's
not the
give
landlord, Arnie.
Let's give the characters real quick. So there's Arnie Johnson, who that's the one that was on trial.
Characters?
Yeah,
I mean, these are real
characters of the
people,
story.
but
Yeah,
characters.
In the movie, they were characters.
Based on real people.
Based on real people.
Oh my gosh, I can't control my phone.
Turn that porn off.
What? Why is your...
It's cryptocurrency. I'm getting my pie.
So we've got Arnie Johnson. So he's the one on trial here.
He was 19 years old at the time.
Oh, that's so young.
I'm going to tell you ages.
And he was engaged to Debbie Glatzel.
Who was 26.
Really?
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Good for him. I
Look
didn't
at
know
him.
that.
They actually met and started dating when he was only 16 years old.
Dirty.
And then they were
Cradle robber.
engaged. So they got engaged 3 years later. So when they were 19, when he was 19, she was 26, they were engaged.
All right. So Debbie, who's
Cradle robbing Debbie.
Cradle robbing Debbie, whose little brother is David Glatzel.
And he was 11.
He was 11. He was the one that was originally possessed. And then, of course, we have our characters, Lorraine and Ed, a.k.a. Patrick McDreamboat.
Ages unknown. I didn't write down their ages.
Not during this trial.
I'm going off of my notes that I left in my car.
Okay.
And I didn't write down their ages because I didn't think it was important.
And this all happened in 81.
Yeah.
Or like 80, 81-ish.
Yeah, the Warrens got involved in 1980.
1980, and then
The stabbing occurred.
stabbing was 81.
Yes. And then the trial, all that was also 81.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know he was only 19, but she was 26.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yep. She was like 7 years older than him.
Okay.
She was grooming him. To the man she wants.
And they're still together.
Yes,
Well,
they are.
And they have 2 kids.
That's amazing. Amazing.
It worked out. Good for them.
Did you know that he had to grow up quick though, so he was kind of more mature for his age.
Okay.
Because when he was younger, and he was like a good kid from what I understand. He was like, sang in the church choir. He was like a Boy Scout and
Into sports.
he was into sports. At one point, I guess he took all the money he had saved up and bought his mom a used car so she wouldn't have to walk to work.
Really? I really like Arnie Johnson.
Yeah, Arnie's a great guy.
Arnie was a great guy. He was all around good guy. Like his mom got sick, so he ended up dropping out of high school so he could take care of his mom.
So it makes you wonder, what did his landlord do to really piss him off? Raise the rent. That must have been it.
Yeah.
I would have been pissed too.
I can't remember. How did the movie even... How was the beginning of this movie?
So
they were in the house, right? The Glatzel home?
Yeah, it starts out with the exorcism.
And I know you were very disappointed because you were hoping that Patrick Wilson would be playing guitar again at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and I could have called you about it.
Okay, first off, in Conjuring 2, it was like halfway through the movie. Right? And his Elvis impersonation was not spot on, but it was,
But
he's dreamy.
But this movie started off with him getting a heart attack.
Oh, yeah. And having a stroke and stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, the beginning of the movie, I mean, he gets right into it, right? It's like we got this little demon child, and we got to hold him down, and it ain't working.
I didn't get to watch the movie again, and I can't remember anything about it.
I just saw it once in the theater, and I thought it was, stuff's been shut down for a year and a half or whatever because of
Boo.
the COVID. Boo. I thought the best movie to make my return trip to the theaters was this movie, Conjuring 3.
Were you?
And boy, I was disappointed.
Really? I liked it.
It was okay. Well, that's cool.
Ghosty, what did you think?
I can't remember it. I wanted to watch it again. I think I was totally passed out during most of it.
Dude was high. Let's be
I
honest.
could have eaten some edibles. I could have. Most likely I did. And I either was like in and out of sleep, and I was like seeing things and passing out.
Like, I don't know if it was really the movie or if it was my dreams. That
Well, I was calling Tim and telling him all about Patrick McDreamboat,
You're the one having dreams about him, so
about me telling you all about it. So you could see these things.
Patrick Wilson came over to my house and sang to me
You should have been there.
in my dreams.
But yeah, I can't remember the movie. So I can't tell you whether I liked it
So
or not.
like the first 20 minutes maybe, if that, is based on the actual case, and then the rest of it is just made up bullshit.
Well, so the case is pretty interesting.
The case is very interesting.
So the way this whole thing started was with what's the little boy's name?
David.
David getting pushed down onto a bed while they were looking at homes.
Yeah, so they were engaged, right? So they're looking for
Arnie and Debbie.
Arnie and Debbie, yeah, we're looking for.
And David's tagging along with them.
Yep,
is this the movie or the real story?
Real story.
Real story.
Real
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
real story. Yeah, they're looking for a place to live because they're engaged, and they get to this one rental property they're looking at, and I guess David kind of didn't even want anything to do with the house, but eventually went in, and there was in one of the bedrooms there was a water bed that was left behind for whatever reason.
Because they're heavy as shit.
Probably.
They're a pain in the ass to move.
Yeah, I would have left it.
They do kind of touch on this a little bit in the movie,
Yeah.
later on in the movie, kind of give some backstory. But he reportedly said that there was an old man that he saw, like a dark shaped, or I guess he was wearing a plaid shirt.
After he got pushed down.
Yeah, they pushed him down, and the spirit basically warned them not to move into the house, or it was going to cause problems for the family.
And they did.
Yeah, because later when he went back home, it pushed him again at his house. But when he turned around, it was the same individual, but this time the individual, the old man that pushed him, this time he looked burnt and had deer legs, is how he described it.
Yeah, he had animal-like characteristics.
Now in the movie, well, they were looking at rental properties, or was it when
They
in
made
the
it
movie
sound like
when
it
they
was
were
their
moving?
house that they lived
Yeah,
in.
I think in the movie it sounded like it was like they were moving into a house, like his house, and then that happened. The first day they were moving in. That's what it kind of seemed like, but I didn't grasp it right.
I wonder if they just try to speed things up so they weren't doing
Right,
so much.
right.
Probably, yeah. Because from what I understand, I've kind of read it two different ways on a couple different websites. One said they actually moved into the house. The other one was they felt really uncomfortable, especially after what David was describing. So they decided not to move in the house. They actually moved into an apartment or something near where Debbie worked. And Debbie's boss was also their landlord.
Yeah. Yes. Uh-huh.
And so how soon after that occurred did David start having these weird possession episodes where they were having to hold him down?
It seemed like it was right.
Yeah,
That's when it started, and they just
Pretty
continued.
instantly.
And it almost seemed to happen on clockwork, almost at 11 p.m. each time. Like once around 11 p.m. started coming around, all of a sudden David changed. He's not the same David. He was something else, something else.
So I want to say this was July 1980, or was it January? It was one of the J months.
But I do know that the Warrens did say that it was known that David had a learning disability.
Yes, he did.
And, that makes you wonder, was that why it kind of attacked or attached to him? Because I think something evil attaches to weak, right? Because it's easier to manipulate and attach to someone or something that's weak.
Yeah, that's why Ghosty always gets attacked.
Yeah.
I get touched.
Gets his butt touched.
Because it's weak sauce. It's all flat. Look at that weak ass.
Literally.
But in the...
That wasn't that funny.
That was.
But in the movie, it would take 4 to 5 people to hold David down. He's 11-year-old little boy. It would take 4 to 5 people to hold him down, and he still would be able to break free.
And then when he would break free, he would attack.
Yes, he would attack. He was known for striking and
spitting,
Bow
and
staff
fighting.
abilities.
bow staff.
Staff. He's got bow staff skills.
But
He even tried to stab his in real life. I guess he tried
Yeah.
to stab his grandma with a knife at one point.
and his mom and grandma.
Yeah, okay.
After an exorcism that didn't go through.
They did 3 lesser exorcisms on this kid, and I don't know
in
what
churches.
I don't know what qualifies as a lesser exorcism and what like a greater one would be. I don't understand.
Yeah, that's a
that.
good point. So in the movie, he runs after that exorcism. He goes to his room, and then for whatever reason ends up in the bathroom, and then runs out and stabs his dad with broken glass. But in real life, he did run into the bathroom at one point, and they could hear him just like laughing maniacally in the bathroom. But didn't come out trying to stab anybody. But at some point after one of the failed exorcisms, he did have a knife and try to stab his mom and grandma.
Psycho.
So, according to Lorraine,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the day they got there, she said she saw like a black mist appear behind David, and that confirmed to her that he was possessed. Then she's also like at one point, I think it was during one of the exorcisms, she said she saw like invisible hands starting to choke him, and she literally saw like red handprints starting to form on his neck.
On David?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Some of the other things she said she saw was him flipping over from like head to toe, and they actually did that in the movie during the exorcism at the beginning. There was also reports of levitation that apparently he was doing.
Yeah, Ed saw him levitate. Ed Warren.
Now, one thing that's kind of hard to believe, but it would have been really cool to get evidence of this, was the model toy dinosaur that David made. And he had just made this dinosaur, and then they see it like come to life almost, and it comes walking across the room and then talks to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did it say? It said, "Oh, you're all going to die."
That would have been crazy to have captured some type of
Yes.
evidence.
I know they do have some of the exorcisms on audio, and they did play some of it on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it came to this case, they lost the case. Spoiler alert, they lost the case. And the reason why they thought they were going to win it was because they thought they could use all this evidence from the possessions, the exorcisms, and the priest to testify that were there.
Right. I mean,
There
you
was
just jumped
6.
way to the end here,
Yeah,
so there's like a
it's-
lot of stuff in the middle we can talk about.
All right, so we talked about David being possessed,
And
some of the
now-
lesser exorcisms, and now the
he's in
case is
jail.
over.
Well, okay. Spoiler alert.
Forget all the stuff in the middle. We don't want that nonsense.
Oh, I was going to get to something about that, but it had to do with the middle. Now I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, Lorraine also said that the night that they showed up started off kind of weird because on the way to the house, Ed kind of tripped on the stairs and fell, and they brought a doctor with them because it was a little boy, so they brought a doctor, and the doctor was kind of making fun of Ed for falling, but then the doctor kind of tripped and fell as well, and so Lorraine was like, "This is kind of starting off already kind of weird."
They're
You
all
guys are-
having strokes.
yeah, you guys are just like falling down, going up the steps here to the house.
Ed was a portly man. I don't know.
I don't know.
Not
yeah, I don't
Patrick,
know.
though.
No,
Not
not
Patrick.
Patrick. He
He's
is
dreamy.
fit as a fiddle.
He wouldn't be having no heart attacks.
But during these exorcisms, some of them happened in churches, and then 6 priests were involved. 3 of them from the Vatican. That's how serious this got. And it was actually a priest that actually reached out to the Warrens because this priest was like, I can't handle this. I need some more help, and he reached out to the Warrens, and then the Warrens got more priests and the Vatican involved. So that kind of shows you how kind of serious this was kind of getting for this family.
Until it went to trial.
Until it was a trial.
So what happened was, this is where Arnie comes back into play here, I guess. During one of these exorcisms,
Actually, want me to before you do that, I got some other cool things that Ed said happened during these exorcisms.
by
You
all
wanna hear
means,
it?
yes.
So in one of the churches, he was saying, he was actually doing some provoking, and a rocking chair in the corner just started rocking violently. There was banging on the walls, and down in the basement of the church, they could hear growling coming from the basement.
I know someone.
What?
I know someone that provoked a spirit at an investigation once and got a rock thrown at him.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that on the Lurch episode.
We did. It was actually, it was Lurch himself.
Yeah. Provoking a spirit in the family tree and
Yeah.
had a rock thrown at him.
That's spooky.
Don't provoke.
Okay, that's all I had.
That's it. Okay.
So spoiler alert.
For that stuff. Just some more spooky stuff.
Spooky. So yeah, during one of these exorcisms, I guess Arnie went to David and basically said to the
During
During an exorcism.
during an exorcism. So first off, they claim that they confirmed that there was 43 demons inhabiting David.
Yeah, and Ed was calling them devils, and then there was the main one called the Beast.
Yeah, and they saw this quote unquote the beast on the grounds of the property, and David had seen it in the house.
Was this also the burned man?
I don't know. Actually, that's a good question.
This sounds like Split with James McAvoy.
Oh, the movie.
Yeah, where he's got 23 personalities, and the Beast is the last one that emerges.
No, who said that? 'Cause I heard Ed in an interview say that he thought it was just one. He calls it a devil, one devil possessing David. But then he had a vision, and it was like a kaleidoscope where just continuous faces were just appearing to him, and it was more than it was 43.
It was 43, and apparently they got names of some of them.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So
probably during David probably talking during
Probably.
exorcisms, probably.
But yeah, I don't know all the names and whatnot. But yeah, they said there was 43 in him. And during one of these exorcisms, Arnie basically went and said, I don't have the exact quote on me, but it was leave him alone.
Leave my little buddy alone.
Yeah, leave my little buddy alone. Take me instead, type of thing.
Bad move, Arnie.
Yes, very bad move. It's another thing you should never do. Never invite. Never
Anything.
provoke. Never invite. But I guess after this happened, after Arnie did this, David was fine. I guess.
Yeah, I never heard anything that bothered David again. Actually, everything just seemed to go right to Arnie.
Yeah. So.
But did it happen instantly, or did it?
It seemed to happen pretty soon after.
It was pretty quick.
Because they went to a pizza parlor, and all of a sudden Arnie was missing for a while, and he came back, and they said he just was someone different, and then that's when it just started. It just started happening. It was pretty soon after.
There was a point in time where I guess he was in his car, and he said all the doors locked, and he couldn't get out, and then his car started driving and drove straight into a tree.
Oh.
So he's claiming that the entity that was inhabiting his body at the time drove him into a tree. There was reports of from Debbie that they'd find him in the house that they're renting or apartment or whatever. He was in the backyard, staring down a well, like a water well, and Arnie says that's when he became fully possessed.
Yeah.
Is when he looked into the eyes, because the entity apparently the beast was living in the well. That's right. And he made eye contact with it, and that's when he says he became fully possessed.
Yeah. No, we did say I know we just said that David really didn't show any signs of any possessions after that, but there is times where David told the Warrens that the beast spoke to him and said, Arnie is going to fall out of a tree. And in the movie, he's playing with it. He's cutting down limbs with a chainsaw, and he did fall out of a tree. So that did happen. He did fall out of a tree.
Yeah, Arnie was a tree surgeon. That was his job. He was
what a title, tree
surgeon.
Ooh, fancy.
He trimmed trees.
And so David said the beast told him Arnie would fall out of a tree. So he did, and in the movie he did, but nothing about a chainsaw. But
they also mentioned that something about a stabbing to David.
Oh, I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, I heard that David also mentioned. I don't know if it was during his time as being possessed or if it was afterwards, but they say that he actually foreshadowed the murder, saying that he saw someone being stabbed.
And also David said that the beast told him that during Arnie's trial the lights would dim, and I guess during the trial the lights dimmed. So David already conveyed this before the trial, and then at the trial it happened.
So yeah, there was I guess other times.
So maybe he
where
wasn't possessed, but he was still somehow, being
being influenced.
yeah, something. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, yeah. They also said that they found him like sometimes like in rooms, just like vacant look on his
David?
face, like Arnie,
Oh, Arnie.
like growling and like his facial features. I guess like when the stabbing actually happened, his facial features changed. But they said they found him like growling sometimes. I think at one point they heard like two voices coming out of him. One was his voice
interesting.
and one was somebody else's voice.
Wow. Like he was communicating.
I think
Or
so.
having conversing. But what happened with the Enfield case we talked about for Conjuring 2, where the little girl was talking as herself and as the spirit.
Yes.
Interesting. Very interesting.
But so after all of this, we get to February 16th, 1981, when I guess Arnie was feeling a little under the weather. Said he had a little bit of sore throat, so he called out sick to work.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, instead of going to work or staying home and recovering, he went to go visit his girlfriend, Debbie, at her job as a dog groomer.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't by himself. They had his two little sisters. I don't remember the names.
With him?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So when it happened, his two sisters were there. One was 15 and one was like 11. And then they had Debbie's cousin, 9-year-old cousin Mary was there, and she was. They all wanted to like see her grooming a dog.
Okay, and so in the movie, it was just Arnie, Debbie, and her boss / landlord.
So yeah, in the guy's real name is Alan Bono. In
Yeah.
the movie, they changed the name to Bruno Solis for some reason.
Yeah.
Probably didn't want his likeness in the movie. Didn't get the approval.
So
Good idea.
So we had Wanda, who's 15 years old, and then Janice, who's 13 years old, and then those are Arnie's sisters, and then Mary, like I said, the 9-year-old cousin of Debbie. So they're all there to like watch Debbie groom this dog.
Exciting.
It's like a field trip.
And I guess at one point, like, so Alan was, like I mentioned earlier, Arnie had to kind of grow up quick. He was a little mature for his age just because of his life situations. Arnie was, not Arnie, Alan, was a laid back dude. He was 40 years old, single, apparently loved to talk about himself.
Okay.
Very laid back. See, he'd actually spent like 17 months in Australia working on a plantation just because.
Huh.
I guess the reason why he came back, and this is all this. So this whole story took place in Brookfield, Connecticut.
Yep.
So I guess Alan's sister had asked him to come back and be in charge of the kennel. So, like I said, Alan was not only their landlord but Debbie's boss running the kennel, and he actually lived in an apartment that was above the kennel.
Right.
And that day, I guess, they were all there and he didn't seem to really care. In fact, he actually invited them out to lunch, took them to a local bar or pizza
Alan?
parlor. Yeah.
Okay.
And took all the kids, all of them out to lunch for pizza or something like that. And so there is reports or claims that they ordered a lot of wine and that, Alan apparently was saying that, he's quitting drinking next weekend. So that was his excuse for drinking as much as he did. I guess the bar
I
owners
played that
or
role a couple times. I played that card.
I guess the waitress. I've done that before too. I'm quitting next week. I'll drink all this now. They said between Arnie and Alan, there was 15 glasses of wine.
Okay.
And over like a 3-hour period.
Yeah, they're drunk.
Alan was definitely drunk. Now Arnie and Debbie I guess they still stick to the story that Arnie didn't really drink much because there's kids around and someone had to be responsible. I don't know for sure.
And another play to Arnie's character is that, he would work all day landscaping, being a surgeon for trees, and then he'd come home, eat, and, hang out with the family. And he would kind of stay with David, and then when David would wake up around 11 o'clock being possessed, Arnie was up all night holding him down during these possessions, and he stayed up all night, then had to wake up early and go to work the next day. Just kind of show a little bit more of his character, how he was so helpful.
I think the whole family did that. They'd like take turns. Like someone would sleep during the day so they could be up late at night with David.
Man, yeah, crazy.
But it gets to the point where I guess they got home, or back to the kennel, more or less, and Alan was drunk and wanted to continue having a good time, so I guess he turned on the stereo really loud and somehow convinced all the girls to go up into his apartment, except for Arnie. He was the only one that didn't want to go up. And I guess I've read two different things. One said he grabbed Debbie and wouldn't let Debbie go. One said he grabbed Mary, the 9-year-old, and wouldn't let Mary go. Either way, he grabbed somebody, and Arnie had to basically convince him to let go of whoever he was holding.
Okay. So Alan's pretty intoxicated. Fun guy.
Pretty intoxicated. Possibly Arnie was also intoxicated. But I guess they got into like an argument. And it's weird how the story differs so much, because I guess the one place I was reading said they were arguing over the stereo. Like Arnie came over to repair the stereo, and they're arguing over the price or the cost of the repairs. And then others say it was about him, the way he was acting, about grabbing the girl.
Yeah, and both situations happen in the movie where Arnie's fixing the radio, and I mean they didn't fight over that, and then Arnie's seeing visions of Alan being inappropriate with Debbie.
So that was actually
that was kind of in the movie.
That was one of the theories that Debbie and Alan might have been having. They were more than just employee-employer relationship, that they were maybe fooling around, although Debbie denies that, obviously. So they think that it's possible that Arnie could have been jealous, but they say that's not a factor. But eventually, I guess, he got to the point where while they were arguing, I think Wendy and Debbie tried to get in between them.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, Arnie just got this vacant look on his face, and his eyes went like pitch black. They said his facial features started to change. And then next thing I know, Alan fell to the ground. And apparently Arnie had taken out his pocket knife, like this 5-inch, kind of like folding knife that he used for work, and stabbed Alan 4 to 5 times in the chest area.
But he said he blacked out during these 2 hours, like a 2-hour block.
Yeah, it doesn't remember any of it. Which
sounds like alcohol.
Which alcohol can do that.
I've had that with alcohol.
Never blacked out on alcohol.
You're lucky.
I don't know that I am, but I mean, I guess
you are. Yeah, you are.
You're lucky.
Yeah, I've never blacked out
Yeah.
drinking.
There's funny stories that follow whenever that happens.
But here's what's interesting. I just thought of right now, though. So David had this knack for wanting to stab people, right? and as if we're thinking that the possession moved from David to Arnie, now Arnie literally did actually stab somebody. So it has a tendency to be a little stabby McStab face over there.
Yeah, that spirit's definitely stab happy.
So I just kind of thought of that correlation just now.
So is there any interviews of David after
Nope.
he's an adult?
No, he's never spoken about it.
Wow.
But what also means, so he's not basically hasn't affirmed everything, but he hasn't denied anything that's been said though.
He just doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to talk about it. And I think I think he's married now. And he was working for his dad's business or something like that.
His older brother Carl did speak out about it though.
Oh, really? What happened in that?
That happened in 2006. So the case, I guess like they, I think Debbie called 911 and said that Alan was dead, and Arnie took off. Like they found him, what was it, like a mile or 2 away or something like that?
Yeah, I didn't find anything about that.
They found him. I guess they found him a little ways away. He wasn't there. And they found him like in the bushes or something.
He was covered in blood, just like kind of in the movie. But in the movie, he was just kind of staggering down the street.
He was just walking down the street.
Yeah, I did hear, but I think they did find him covered in blood. Like his hands definitely were covered in blood.
I did see pictures of the knife. When they found him and they found the knife, they took pictures of the knife, and it wasn't a very big knife or anything. But
Because it was like a pocket knife.
yeah, it was just like
Yeah.
a pocket knife. It was like a 5-inch blade. But some of the people that found the knife, they were saying that it had this like weird glow to it. Like it just, even the, like the police officers and whatnot, they said it felt weird. There was like a weird energy about the knife.
I didn't hear that. Interesting. Maybe the knife is the possessed.
Maybe.
Maybe
Well,
it's
Stabby McStab face of the.
well, we leave our energy everywhere we go. We leave
Yeah.
traces of ourselves. So it's possible, like if there was a demonic entity within Arnie, it's possible that, especially if it was controlling him and making him stab Alan.
Yeah, being stab happy spirit.
The McStabberson, Mr. Stabby,
Stabby Van
Stabby,
Stabberston.
Stabby McStabberson. It's possible he could have left some residual energy on the knife.
Yeah.
And this everything that we just talked about happens basically within the first like 15 to 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
I guess he was indicted like the next day for the murder.
Mm-hmm.
And then the trial basically took place from there until November.
Yeah. Speaking of, you guys want to get into the trial now then? Anything else we're missing? Oh,
No.
I do have something. Actually, in the movie with David and the waterbed, so in the movie he's laying on the waterbed and then a hand rises up out of the waterbed and grabs him and he jumps out of it.
Very black hand.
Yeah. So I guess Arnie and Debbie did say that I believe they were sleeping in David's room on the floor, and a green skeletal hand came up from out of the floor. I mean, that was about it. They saw it come up, so that was pretty interesting. I think I got all the interesting things here.
I think so. Maybe. I don't know.
So
It's
trial.
possible.
They go to trial.
They go to trial.
And something happened in the movie where he was hearing, he was still, it was that talking to him in jail. That happened in the movie. I didn't find anything that if it was really something that was happening, really, where he was kind of being talked to by the spirits while he was in
I
jail.
didn't hear anything either.
But if you remember in the movie, Debbie and David visited Arnie, and David actually said something that makes you feel like he still was connected. He wasn't being possessed anymore, but he was still being spoken to. He was still having a connection to this evil entity. So I can't remember exactly what David said, but it was something where it's like, no, I can't even.
I don't
wonder
know.
if he
I don't
still
remember
has that
either,
today.
but I could probably force myself to sit down through that crappy movie again.
It makes you wonder though if David still has that connection.
Maybe that's why he doesn't want to talk about it.
Maybe.
Maybe he tells him, "Don't talk about me anymore," or he wants to forget about it because it was really bothered him for years. Maybe
be
not
interesting.
anymore. Hopefully,
It's possible.
yeah.
But yeah, so the case when it was the lawyer put his neck out on the line for this because this is going to be like a spirit.
And so did the judge. The judge was like, "I don't want to talk about this in my court, but I got no choice. I got this kid being on trial
But
for
yeah,
murder."
so they thought they were going to win this case just based off of their evidence, but this judge decides not to use any of it or the priests, and so pretty much their whole case gets thrown out almost.
Because there was maybe it goes to this what you're talking about. There was a case previously where they used possession as a defense, and the lady got away with it. I shouldn't say got away with it because I don't know if she really was possessed. I don't know
So that
story.
was in England. So this was actually the first. I think there was two in England where they used possession as a defense, and I think one was for a rapist, and then one was for the one that you were just talking about. But this is the first one in the U.S. First reported case in the U.S. Of demonic possession. And one thing I thought was interesting, and I kind of missed this. So this murder that took place here in Brookfield, it was the first. I guess the town at this point had been established for about 139 years, and this is the first recorded murder in the 139 years,
this
or
town.
at least within the 30 years that they actually had police records. But yeah, for like almost 140 years, this is the first like murder to ever happen in this town. Wow. So that was another odd thing about this whole case. But the lawyer Martin Minolela, come on. I'm saying that's totally wrong. This is why we record at 1 o'clock in the morning. Or I guess it's only midnight. But Manella, I think that's what it is.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Minnella.
Sure.
That guy, Martin. His name's Martin. Yeah, I guess he was a little hesitant to use this defense at first, but decided to go with it. And like you said, the judge just threw it out. He said it was unadmissible, like it was unscientific, and just overly confusing, unnecessarily confusing for the jury.
Yeah.
Basically, he was saying that there's no way to prove that they're the demonic possession. So they wouldn't use any of the testimony from the Warrens. They wouldn't use any of the testimony from the priests. So he had to go basically with the self-defense route.
Right, because Ed Warren felt like they had enough evidence with the recordings that
Eyewitnesses.
Witnesses.
Credible eyewitnesses.
Well, priests are pretty good witnesses, you'd think.
Yeah, you don't think that they would lie especially they were putting their hand on the Bible and swearing.
Right, exactly. But the judge didn't want anything of it, and Ed wasn't mad at the judge because he understood. He's like, he didn't want to be the judge known for the devil made me do it case.
Well, interesting fact. I think after it came out with a demonic possession defense, the church backed off like hardcore. They basically said that they never sanctioned any of the exorcisms. They never gave approval for the exorcisms. And they basically kind of gave a gag order, more or less, on all 6 priests and told them they were not allowed to talk about it.
But why would they send 3 from the Vatican then?
I have no idea.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of, I get it. Also from like the church standpoint too. Like,
But I think
we don't want to be involved.
I think the 3 local priests
Uh-huh.
were all transferred to different parishes after the fact.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I get it from a religious standpoint. When a case goes this
Mainstream.
yeah. I could see why they would be like, yeah, no.
Nope, get away. Nope. I get it too.
So yeah, from what I understand, the church backed off like super hardcore. And they're like,
But apparently, I guess
nothing.
these 6 priests were in the court. They were waiting to give testimonies, but they were not allowed to be called upon. But from what Ed was saying is that they were in the court waiting. They're like, yeah, we'll talk. But nope, judge said nope. Stay out there.
That doesn't make sense as a judge because, I mean, if they were eyewitnesses, you don't have to take them on the stand as a priest, but just as an eyewitness.
Yeah. Different times.
Yeah.
It was the 80s, baby.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, you were the only one born.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Because I was born like a year after this happened.
Samesies.
And so the trial didn't last long?
I don't think so because if there wasn't much of a case.
Murder happened in February. Conviction, he was... so over 3 days, 15 hours over 3 days, the jury on November 24th, 1981. So you're looking at what, 8 months?
Yeah, and I'm sure
8 months from
like,
murder to conviction. He was convicted of first-degree manslaughter.
Served 10 or sentenced 10 to 20 years.
Yes, and I guess he was out within 5 for good behavior.
Which kind of also shows you about his character.
Like what we talked about at the beginning, where he was this upstanding citizen.
Yeah.
He was willing to help people out. Like he was a good guy, and he stabbed someone to death. I guess he didn't die instantly either. Like he died in the hospital later that night, a couple hours later.
that sucks.
But yeah,
Alcohol sucks.
It's the devil.
Yeah.
yes, the devil made me do it.
So what do you guys think? Especially when it comes to some of these things like this dinosaur walking across the room.
I would love to have been able to see that.
Like that type of shit sounds super unbelievable almost. But I mean, I've seen some unbelievable shit as well. So
I don't know.
it's hard to see, like, because I haven't seen an inanimate object
Start moving.
Yeah, especially when they said it was walking. Like I could see if it was just like I could see if it like slid across the room.
Uh-huh.
You know, I could see that sliding across the room, but actual the legs like up and trotting across and then
Speaking.
yeah.
Closest I've gotten is a lock, padlock that was on a door, started slamming against the door on its own, and I thought that the door that I was standing next to, because I was literally standing right next to this lock, and I just hear it like go slam, like really hard on the door right behind me.
Wow.
It was probably like 2 inches from my shoulder. Like it wasn't that far away. And I thought maybe it's like a gust of wind or whatever, because there's this door. I thought it went outside. It was actually a storage room.
Oh.
So I don't know how the lock would have lifted up and slammed against the door as hard as it did. So I didn't actually see it. I do have video at Asylum 49 of a curtain flying up and hitting the ceiling on its own.
Oh wow.
I showed that to you guys.
Yeah,
I showed that
Yep.
Oh okay.
at
Yeah.
Family Tree.
Yeah.
I pulled it up on my now forever gone laptop and showed it to you guys.
Yeah, I remember that.
But that hallway that happened in, like there was no one down that hall, and there was, I mean, it was in the middle of the building where there's no exits to the outside, no windows or anything, so it wasn't a gust of wind or anything. And I guess when that happened, people I was with actually saw someone standing behind that curtain.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Oh yeah, I remember.
So it is possible.
But but it wasn't a live person.
No, it was not.
We
a live
gotta
person,
clarify that.
no. It was not it was not a living person that did that. So it is possible.
Yeah, that's the part that really gets to me when I
The
heard Ed
talking,
Murray
I
tell
don't know though.
And I guess not only did that dinosaur speak and said you're all going to die, but someone had actually I think an EVP or a recording of I think it was actually an EVP where the same voice came in and said something else. Like I can't remember actually what it said, but it said something else.
So yeah, that's all the real stuff. The movie, when it gets to the trial, the Warrens are like trying to convince the lawyer to do the demonic possession defense, and the guy's like, I think it was a lady actually in the movie. She's like, no way. And they're like, tell you what, come visit our museum of haunted horrors and horrors, not horrors. Come visit our museum, and if we make you a believer, then do the defense. And then they're making this bargain with the lawyer, and then it cuts to them in the court, and the lawyer's like, not guilty by demonic possession. So it didn't actually show the lawyer going to their museum, but it just right away the lawyer's like, yep, he was possessed. And then there's the rest of the movie. They do kind of some backtracking, kind of explain what happened to David, where the entity came from. There was some shit about witch totems that was like under the bed.
Under the house.
It was, yeah.
Under the house,
yeah.
under the bed. Directly under the bed, but under the house.
And throughout the movie, like one gets sent to the Warrens through a vase of flowers. I did like the little like, oh, this one's from the Perrin family.
Yeah, a little shout out. Yeah. Oh, some flowers. Again, in the beginning of the movie where David jumps on Ed Warren, it actually gives him a heart attack. And so that's why the flowers are being sent to like, hope you feel better, get well soon.
And then there's like some little side story about other. So the witch totem thing's not real. So I'm assuming this little side story is all
Yeah,
made up
just
too.
it's Hollywood.
But they go to like some other county where there was something similar that happened to another girl. Just went like crazy.
She
and, like,
stabbed
murdered-
another girl.
She stabbed her like best friend. They were out in the
Uh-huh.
woods. They go to, and I did kind of think this was funny though. They go to this other county, and they're talking to the police department, and the guy was just like, he didn't want to give them anything.
They're like the detective.
Yeah, the detective didn't want to give the Warrens anything, like any information, either case files or anything. And they didn't believe, in possessions and stuff like that. And so the guy was like trying to prove that Lorraine can do what she said she could do.
Mm-hmm.
And lays out like 4 or 5 knives on the table and is like, tell me which one of these knives was used in this murder of the girl. And Ed's like throwing a fit, like, oh, she doesn't have to prove anything to you guys. And as he's like arguing, Lorraine just goes, it was this one, and pushes it forward. And the detective gets all like, oh my gosh.
How'd she do that?
And then it's kind of some funny stuff as they're driving to where the murder happened. Lorraine's like, you're going to miss the turn. It's up here on the right.
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah.
Like this whole sequence, this whole like side story was actually really cool and very well
Right.
done. Unfortunately, it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
But like she's able to like go and like transport herself into the time that this happened.
Yeah,
with
like
the
astral
girls.
project herself in time.
Like it's a very fascinating sequence.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It gets to the point where she's like running through the woods and they're chasing her and she almost falls off a cliff. And that's how she finds the body. Because I guess they searched all over the place. They even had like divers looking for this body of this girl, and they couldn't find her. But after Lorraine's episode here, they were able to find the body of the girl. And so I think that's when they opened up like some of the police records.
I was, because they did use names in this. I was actually curious if this was actually a real event that happened, or if it was just made up for the movie. I'm curious about that.
And see, I didn't see any of that anywhere in the research because everything that I looked at focused mainly on
Arnie,
the Gletzels and Arnie.
yeah.
So I mean, it would be cool if that actually happened. I don't think it did.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at it because, like I said, they used names. So I'm gonna look, see if.
Well, then there's the
Find
whole
something.
the whole story. Like, I guess Ed went to visit a priest, and they did change so there was a priest, one of the priests involved. They changed his name in the movie to I can't remember what they changed his name to, but there was a priest that Ed did consult with. Like I said, there were 6 actually, but in the movie, I guess they find out that the daughter of the priest is the witch that's using these totems to control people and make things happen, or like control the demon or something like that.
Yeah, why did she want to in the movie? Why did this witch lady want to
I have no idea.
mess with the Glatzels?
I don't remember.
This is just kinda
any
how-
part of this.
This
I
is-
remember the totems, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I kind of like.
It was like a cult called the Rams or something like that. The
It
Ram
was
heads
just this
or something.
weird thing, like, and apparently it was the witch totem. That's what led him to the girl's murder. That's why the Warrens were talking to the police in the counties, because they had a totem thing there too. And apparently this witch lady sent one of the totems to the Warrens, and Ed was like hallucinating and almost killed Lorraine in the movie. And
Because he thought it was a big naked dead guy chasing
Yeah.
him.
That sounds familiar.
well, the big naked dead guy first appeared when they were in the. So this is after they found the body of the dead girl, right? And so Lorraine like touches the body of the dead girl, and she's able to trace the energy back to the witch lady, and found her altar, sort of. And then that's when the witch like kind of was using the energy to go back to Lorraine and brought this dead, bloated guy to life and use it to like try to kill Lorraine.
He's kind of spooky.
And it was just like watching all of this. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Well, it makes for a great movie. I just didn't see the correlation. I couldn't correlate everything together, though. That's what I was struggling with.
They just reached so hard in this movie. I'm just like, meanwhile, Arnie's getting possessed in the prison and floating
Right.
I don't remember
and
that.
shattering all the lights and everything around him. And the demon's like trying to basically kill Arnie in prison while Lorraine's running around in the under the ground of the priest, trying to
Find this
survive
altar.
the witch
Yeah.
trying to kill her, trying to find the altar. I'm like super
sounds
paraphrasing all of
action-packed.
this because it's
It's
just
going
it's
very
just-
askew. And like I said, I was trying to find it. I was trying to find the correlation between everything. But the parts were
witch
cool
is,
though.
The witch is the one controlling the demon that tried to kill Arnie, or she was the one trying to kill Arnie. I don't understand the whole totem thing. Why this was in the movie. Like, it just doesn't make any
It's
sense.
true. And right now, as I'm trying to rethink it all through, I'm like, as I struggled watching it to put the correlation together, like right now, I'm really struggling to put the correlation
I just
together.
don't like. So Lorraine's running around in this underground cave, finds the altar. She's like, I got to destroy the altar to stop the witch. And so she's like, this thing is this massive like stone table with all this stuff on it. And Lorraine,
And the mighty Ed.
Lorraine's literally like trying to tip this table over, like tip this altar over and break the altar. And I'm sitting there like watching this, and I'm like, okay, first off, why don't you just, if like you're trying to stop the witch or slow her down at all, why not knock the shit off the table?
That's what I was thinking too. Why don't I just knock everything off the
Instead
table?
of just like trying to lift this big stone table by yourself, knock the shit off the table.
But then mighty
but-
Patrick Wilson comes in with
he
his
comes in,
mighty
well, he's-
sledgehammer.
he's being
and goes,
controlled.
Thor.
Yes, he's being controlled, and the witch is trying to use Ed with a sledgehammer to kill Lorraine and build unnecessary suspense because you know that Lorraine Warren died 2 years ago in 2019. So, or at least I did. So I'm just like, I'm watching this. I'm like, this is all just
Hollywood.
This is all just crap. It was so far fetched.
It makes for a good movie. Good action.
It's a great action. Patrick Wilson again, like blind to what's going on, because then somehow getting sprayed in the ears with steam in the second movie made him blind. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah, and when he in the Enfield case in Conjuring 2, like he goes into they break a hole in the door in the laundry room in the basement.
Yes.
And he climbs up through the floor.
Yes.
And as he's climbing through the floor, like a pipe bursts or something, it sprays steam on his face, and it like makes him blind and deaf for a little bit as he's like wandering around the house. So it's like same thing. So in this movie, he's like
the witch blew some dust.
He's
on
being she did something, and the witch is like controlling him and is making Lorraine look like something that needs to be killed. And so he's like swinging. He's like John Henry here, swinging on sledgehammer. And then I guess Lorraine like somehow lures him to the altar and like ducks at the last minute or some shit.
I was like, Ed, it's me. I love you.
Yeah, and he swings.
And he snaps out of it.
He snaps out of it, and he swings the sledgehammer and breaks the altar. And the witch's curse is broken, and the demon comes and kills her. The end. What the hell? What is this movie doing? I don't understand this.
Yeah,
it's crap. But
I wouldn't mind good action and suspense.
I wouldn't mind watching it again.
It made great action suspense, but how it correlated with the whole story was very hard to wrap my head around.
And as soon as the witch was killed by the demon, Arnie was fine, and then convicted of manslaughter.
Yeah,
I'm probably explaining this so bad. People are gonna like listen to this podcast and be like, "Oh my god, I gotta go see this movie now," just so I can see how terrible it is. And then I'll get emails be like, "It wasn't that bad." I'm very passionate.
evp.pod@gmail.com.
Yes, very passionate about how terrible this movie is.
I like the movie, but yes, it's very stretched out. Like the whole thing with Alan. You know, the boss / landlord, where he's like this in this drunken daze. It was very over the top. It was hard to watch. It was very over the top. He was just splashing like the way he was just splashing his beer, because he was drinking beer in the movie and not wine in the house. I mean, he's splashing his beer all over. I was getting very annoyed because my OCD is like, stop making a mess in your house. Your carpet's gonna stink.
So the actual like story of what happened, the possession and the murder and all that, is actually very fascinating.
Yeah.
All this extra witchcraft bullshit that they throw in the movie, I'm just like, please no. Why? Someone at work asked me this. Nerman, he probably might listen to this eventually. He asked me if I saw the movie, and I'm like, it's crap. And he's like, wasn't it? Like, it was such a. I mean, like I said, I'll see it again. I'll probably buy it because I collect movies, and I have the first 2 Conjurings. I still need to buy like the Annabelle stuff and the Nun and whatnot, but it's such garbage, and I will buy it. I can guarantee you right now, I'm going to buy this movie when it comes out.
So let's go back to Arnie in real life. What say you all? Did he? Or not did he kill somebody, but was he possessed? For me, the fact that he's has shown a character of being a stand-up guy, and then all of a sudden randomly, killed this gentleman, Alan. But there is people saying, yes, David was possessed, and Arnie asked for it to come into him. I think, yes, he was possessed.
Here's my thing, is I've kind of made it clear on some of the other episodes how I feel about the Warrens.
Yes.
I straight up said the paranormal field would not be what it is today without them. They did a lot for the paranormal field. The fact that they were Catholics and everything was a demon, is very consistent with some other people that I've worked with. They throw their religion in it and just everything's demons. But there's so much more to what goes on. I do think that it is possible the Warrens, at this point in time, were actually now famous because of the Amityville case.
Yeah.
That's what shot them into fame in 1977 or whatever. And at the Amityville case, Lorraine actually did say, joked around, like, our lives now belong to Warner Brothers. Now, I don't know if it was the oh my gosh, lawyer or if it was the Warrens, but someone did say This story is worth millions. I do know that there's this guy named Gerard Bitter or Butler or something like that. Not Butler, that's the actor.
Actor, yeah.
Biddle. I can't remember his name. There's an author. He's wrote like 6 or 7 books on.
Oh, yeah,
The
I think you're
Warrens.
right. I think Biddle is his last name.
Gerard Biddle. He wrote The Demonologist in like 1980. In 1983, he wrote The Devil in Connecticut, which is based on this story. He's wrote several books on, and he's worked with the Warrens. And he said,
No, The Haunting in Connecticut is a different one.
no, this is The Demon in Connecticut.
Oh, Demon in
Because
Connecticut.
this happened in Connecticut.
Okay,
So
yeah.
there was the 2 cases in Connecticut. But yeah, you're right. That was a different case. But the book itself, I believe, is called Demon in Connecticut. So there was a book that was written in 1983,
Brittle.
I think it was.
Brittle, like
Brittle? Yeah,
like yummy
Gerard
peanut
Brittle.
brittle.
Yeah, so he wrote several books for the Warrens, working with the Warrens, using their case files and their studies to write their books. And the one I read, The Demonologist, is actually a really good read. And it's actually the book that Vera and I think Patrick also read to get them in the mindset for the roles of Ed and Lorraine Warren in the first Conjuring movie. The Demonologist is a great read. I would recommend it because it jumps into some of the Warrens' other cases, and I find these all fascinating. Now, I've said in the past that I think the Warrens were opportunistic in some cases. I don't think they were in all cases.
Well, I mean, if they already have a deal with Warner Brothers and they're on a case that's got a lot of going on like that, I could see anyone going, yeah, this is worth millions because
Right.
they're already signed.
But given the kid's background, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. With the alcohol involved, I don't know how much he actually drank.
True.
But it's entirely possible. So I'm going to lean more towards demonic possession.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this then. That's your answer for Arnie. What do you think about David?
If it wasn't for David, Arnie probably wouldn't have had the experiences that he had.
So you're saying David definitely was.
I
possessed.
I think so. I mean, let's be realistic. They had 6 priests come in, 6, and they performed like 3 exorcisms. You don't do that
Yeah. From the Vatican.
from the if 3 of them came from the Vatican, you just don't do that
Yeah.
if you don't have what you consider proof.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to lean more towards that there was some influence from some sort of entity
Okay.
in this case. I don't know if there was 43 with
yeah.
David, but I think it possibly could have been.
I think that, yes, David was having some spirit activity going on with him, also being possessed and everything. And then when it comes to Arnie, I'm thinking that either he was blacked out drunk and did some dumb shit, being blacked out drunk,
And then use
and
the
then
fact
using
that David
that had just happened, using that as a case just to get him off the hook. But at the same time, it could be possible. I mean, Stabby McStabberson over there just had to keep being stabby. So I mean, it goes down the whole stabby line of events. So
and I mean, it's just so out of character from everything
Yeah.
that I know about Arnie. It was just so out of character
Yeah,
for him to do
so-
something like this.
So I could see, just based on his character and everything, that he most likely wouldn't have done something like this without some type of influence.
Well, and
So not
alcohol.
only intoxication, but spiritual.
Yeah, which being drunk, being intoxicated does leave you more prone to being taken
yes.
over.
That's going to make you more vulnerable for something like that happening.
And
That's a good
especially
point.
if you're blacked out, I mean, that's something can take full control, I'm sure. And
That's a good point.
I mean, I've been blacked out drunk and have been on autopilot, and people said, like, you were that drunk? Like, I don't remember any of that stuff. And they're like, dude, we had full-on conversations. You seem great.
So I think with all the Warrens cases, even these big ones like Amityville, we can talk about that another time. But I do think that there were some sort of entity involved in all of their cases. I don't know if they're necessarily all demonic, but I think that they legit wouldn't have been there had there not actually been some kind of paranormal activity going on. But I do know that in 2006, this Gerard Brittle had re-released his book, The Devil Made Me Do It, or Devil in Connecticut, or whatever it was called. And Carl Gletzel, the older brother of David, I don't know, I think he might have been younger than Debbie, actually spoke out. And I think David and Carl actually sued Gerard and the Warrens, saying that the book was 100% false, that none of the events actually happened, and that David basically was just suffering from illness-induced hallucinations. And I guess the Warrens kind of, right from the get-go, were just kind of like, this is just a cash grab. You guys are just trying to make money off of this. But then again, the same thing could have been said about the Gerard and the Warrens. I personally believe that, like, all these cases that they worked on, I do think that sometimes they might have tried to get some of these bigger ones or be involved in these bigger ones, like Enfield. In the movie, it said in the second Conjuring, like, one of the priests is like, this, they played a voice or played a recording of this old man's voice, and they're like, it's from an 11-year-old girl. The church wants you to go check it out. Most people said that the Warrens just showed up uninvited.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I honestly might do the same thing. Like, hey, there's a big case. I want to go work on it.
Yeah, I would.
I want to be involved in this. But,
yeah.
I don't know that I'd go as far as, writing books and trying to sell my stories. I do it free here on a podcast.
Yeah,
but then this wasn't around podcast.
I don't know why the Warrens just didn't do a podcast.
Yeah, they could have totally just done a podcast.
Yeah, they could have back in the day. They did a lot of interviews and lectures and stuff. They traveled and taught. So
That was their way of podcasting, was lectures.
yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Warrens
Are great.
they're great people. I think they did a lot of good for a lot of people. I do think they may have taken some advantage of some people.
I don't know if you could say take advantage of them, but just use their story because they were involved in the case.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, if there's a high profile, something going on and you want to, yeah, you definitely want to be a part of it. I mean, they're hustlers. They're doing something they love and trying to make a living off of it.
Yeah,
trying
and
to be the best at it.
that makes perfect sense.
So, I mean, if they want to dedicate that much time to it, to be the best at what they do, I mean, yeah, I could see wanting to make a living off of it, to be able to give that much time to it, because if it's just a hobby, like for us, I mean, we can't do all that and stuff. I mean, they were doing lectures and all that other stuff to actually
If we all quit our jobs,
I wouldn't want to.
we could travel the country and the world teaching people about
Just podcasting.
Just
podcasting around the world.
Podcasting around the world.
But the paranormal.
We do this. We're on YouTube. We're
Yeah.
around the world.
You're right.
I don't know. Like I said, they did a lot of good for a lot of people, and the paranormal wouldn't be what it is today without them.
Trudy. Jinx.
Ha, 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 ha. No, they did a lot of good. So I do think that they were opportunistic at sometimes. But we're talking about 3 movies, 3 cases, or 4 or 5 maybe, if you want to throw in Annabelle and Amityville.
Yeah.
That are mainstream, like big cases out of the thousands and thousands of cases they did. So obviously, like I'm
sure they went to a lot of places where there was nothing going on.
probably.
For as
And
many
they even do
thousands
that
of
in,
cases.
I think, the first Conjuring movie. They went to someone's house and they're like, oh, it's just the pipe settling. Or the
Oh, he was
floorboards
telling
settling.
them all about the
yeah.
debunking.
Pretty much. So I probably painted this bad picture of them through the last few episodes, but they honestly, I think they did a lot of good.
I
think they did more good than they did harm.
I love the Warrens.
It's the Lutz family. I don't have any respect for. That's a whole different story, different topic, different podcast for a different day.
And we'll get to it.
Well, guys, should we call that?
I think
Yeah.
so.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. This has been a good one. So
This was a fun series.
yeah, it was. That was a
From
fun little.
from Conjuring 1 to the interview we did with Andrea Perrin, and then this latest movie. I'm curious what will be Conjuring 4. Where they'll go
Amityville?
next.
No, probably.
They
won't.
were involved with it.
Yeah,
in
they
the
already showed
Amityville one. Was that the one with Ryan Reynolds.
Right. Well,
Is that the one that Lorraine was involved in?
2005. Actually, they assisted on both movies.
Okay.
The 1979 one, and then the 2005 one. Lorraine was involved in both those movies.
Got it.
She consulted on them, as she did with the first two Conjuring movies. Don't know how much consulting she did on this one.
Probably
Probably
think
not,
she was
because she
around.
died in 2019.
Yep. All right, everybody. I ain't gonna die because Ghosty don't play that.
Peace out, butterflies.
Bye-bye.
This is the EVP Podcast.